What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you did not get got on April Fool's Day. In fact, I don't know what I'm talking about. I know you didn't get got because you're the best. You're super smart. You're super incredible. You're super perfect. You're super, super, super. You are super at everything you do. That is not an Incredibles reference, but it is pertinent here today. We're glad that you joined us here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe so you get access to all of our wonderful content. We exist to talk about the Dallas Cowboys 24/7, 365. We've been doing it forever. We will be doing it forever, and we appreciate you being part of our journey. Now, something to talk about today. It's a bit uncomfortable. All right, it is an idea that not a lot of people are necessarily enthused by. It's something we've danced around. In fact, we haven't really danced around it. We've danced in the middle of this. I mean, we've been in the middle, like YMCA and, shouting, twisting and shouting. I mean, we've been doing all sorts of numbers here in the middle of this dance floor. Let's go ahead. Let's just dive right in. All right. Should the Dallas Cowboys trade Michael Gallup? Now, I want to start off by saying I love Michael Gallup. I'm going to speak for you. You love Michael Gallup. We love Michael Gallup. We all believe that Michael Gallup is an incredible football player. We all believe that Michael Gallup is an incredible wide receiver. We all want Michael Gallup to be on our favorite football team. We all want these things, all right? We're just kind of exploring hypotheticals, and we're being responsible, all right? The reality here is that this is that incredible episode of The Office where the Dallas Cowboys have a surplus. The Dallas Cowboys have a surplus at the wide receiver position. They obviously had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup coming off the 2019 season. They gave Amari Cooper his new contract last year, averaging $20 million a year. Michael Gallup continued to ball out. They drafted CeeDee Lamb. So things are now at the point where you have to ask this question. And by the way, times have really changed. If you asked this question a year ago, in fact, many people did ask this question a year ago when then New York Jets safety Jamal Adams was available and he was obviously linked to the Dallas Cowboys. Gary Myers, a great columnist, actually floated out the idea of trading Michael Gallup for Jamal Adams. And a lot of Cowboys fans, I believe rightly, said, you know what? I wouldn't even trade Michael Gallup straight up for Jamal Adams. And that was fair at the time. But it's been a year. A lot has changed. A lot of data is now here that we didn't have access to a year ago, namely CeeDee Lamb's life in the NFL, his rookie season with the Dallas Cowboys. And so this is an important situation to consider. And we have to consider this. Why? Because we love the Dallas Cowboys. We want them to do the smart thing. We want them to do the wise thing. We want them to be constantly looking out for the best interests of the football team. And they would not be doing that if they did not ask this question. So, why should the Dallas Cowboys trade Michael Gallup? Well, number one, Michael Gallup is a baller. Michael Gallup is amazing, so he has the potential to be an elite wide receiver on another NFL team. Number two, as we've discussed, the Dallas Cowboys have options. They have a surplus. Explain it to me like I'm five. The Dallas Cowboys have Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb if they do walk away from Michael Gallup. And number three, the Dallas Cowboys, this is the most important thing here, most likely will not be able to afford Michael Gallup in 2022. What's happening in 2022, RJ? Well, I'll tell you. You're feeling 22, Taylor Swift. An offseason from now, after the 2021 season, after the Dallas Cowboys win the Super Bowl in Los Angeles, Michael Gallup's rookie contract will have expired. He'll need a new deal. The Dallas Cowboys are in a tough spot financially. They have just committed $1 gajillion to their quarterback and Dak Prescott. The focus now is seemingly on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see what happens with the 10th overall pick. By the way, we've run through a number of those scenarios if you want to watch any of our other videos here on the channel. And the reality is the Dallas Cowboys have shown that they're kind of good at drafting wide receivers. And Michael Gallup's a great example of that, a third-round pick in 2018. Consider Cedric Wilson. I mean, a great pick by them when they did take him. CeeDee Lamb's obviously a first-round talent. But the point is, the Dallas Cowboys can afford to move on from Michael Gallup, mostly because they will not be able to afford him literally next season. So this is the final year of Michael Gallup's rookie contract. And here's an important thing to know. The Dallas Cowboys, namely Stephen Jones, love compensatory picks. And if you don't know what that is, generally what a compensatory pick is it's based off of, I had a Diet Coke, so my mind is swirling everywhere. It's based off of free agents that leave your team. If we'll use Byron Jones as an example. When Byron Jones left the Dallas Cowboys, when his rookie contract with them expired in 2020, he left for the Miami Dolphins, got a big time contract, huge contract, played a lot of football for them in 2020. So the Dallas Cowboys were awarded a compensatory pick for him. Robert Quinn left the Cowboys in free agency, got a big-time contract with the Chicago Bears. The Dallas Cowboys were awarded with a compensatory pick for him and the contract the Bears gave him. The compensatory formula is not known. It's literally like you'd have to send Indiana Jones into the halls of the NFL at 345 Park Avenue to try to figure it out or try to retrieve it. But the general gist is the more players you lose in free agency, the more likely you are to receive compensatory picks, especially if they do get big-time contracts and play a lot of football, like Byron Jones, like Robert Quinn, etc. When you sign free agents, you compromise yourself from attaining compensatory picks, which is why the Dallas Cowboys like to stay chill in free agency. That is, again, the whole idea. Remember, the Dallas Cowboys did get 4 compensatory picks here in 2021. They got one in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th round. So the whole point here is that Michael Gallup, after his contract expires with the Dallas Cowboys in 2022, let's assume that he signs a big-time contract with another team, because that's going to happen. Then, after that big-time contract, after Michael Gallup's first year with that team in 2022, he'll likely award, or through the whole fact of it all, award the Dallas Cowboys a compensatory pick in 2023. Now, the highest possible compensatory pick you can yield is a 3rd-round compensatory pick. An example here is when Jadeveon Clowney didn't want to play for the Houston Texans anymore, and the Texans had to trade with the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks weren't going to give up more than a 3rd-round pick. Why? Because Clowney was on the final year of his deal, and had Clowney left in free agency, we all know what happened with him, the most that the Seahawks could potentially recoup was a 3rd-round pick. So that's why, look, we believe that it makes sense to trade Michael Gallup, but we have to draw the line somewhere logically. He's not going to fetch a 1st-round pick because he's got 1 year left on his deal. And any team that is looking at him could say, you know what, why should I pounce now? I could just wait to sign him next year in free agency. Then I don't have to lose anything out, or whatever the case may be. I don't have to figure all this out, whatever. But the reason, in fact, the main reason that you would be trading him right now is because a team could A, use Michael Gallup's services in 2021, and B, have the inside track to hopefully sign him to a long-term extension. So it is what it is. But why would any NFL team not love Michael Gallup? I mean, look at his career so far. He has been incredible since joining the NFL and joining the Dallas Cowboys in 2018. This will be his 4th season, of course, in the NFL. He has 13 appropriate, given his jersey number, touchdowns so far. And remember that all of these career accomplishments include last season not having Dak Prescott for a majority of it. He's caught over 55% of his passes that have gone his way. He's got almost 2,500 receiving yards. He averages 15.6 yards per reception. Michael Gallup gets down the field. And again, his contract ends after this season. That is the most important thing to note. So when we look at this, we say, well, it makes sense to trade Michael Gallup, but a lot of teams have already found their answers in free agency. Kenny Galladay's a member of the New York Giants. I don't want to trade Michael Gallup to the Giants anyway. The Baltimore Ravens have already signed Sammy Watkins. Whatever. Well, the Baltimore Ravens are a real thing here. Allen Robinson's back to the Chicago Bears. The reality here is that if Michael Gallup had been a free agent this offseason, outside of Allen Robinson, he would have been the hottest name on the market. I mean, Michael Gallup's a better wide receiver than Kenny Galladay, and so when he hits free agency next year, he will likely be the number 1 pass catcher on the board, and we'll see how that ultimately happens. But so if you're a team and you want Michael Gallup, why not trade for him now? Here's where things stand as we enter the month of April. Again, I hope you didn't get fooled. We have to look at the NFL draft because obviously teams are gearing up or hoping for a situation where they end up with Kyle Pitts. We like Kyle Pitts. And here's the other thing. Here's why it makes sense to trade Michael Gallup. It especially makes sense to trade Michael Gallup if you are the Dallas Cowboys and you land Kyle Pitts. This is something the great Bob Stern wrote about this week in The Athletic. Say the Cowboys draft Kyle Pitts, all right? All of a sudden you have an extra offensive weapon. And let me be clear here. If Kyle Pitts is on the board at 10 overall, I don't care who else is there. You're drafting Kyle Pitts. You're not saying I love myself, some cornerbacks. I love myself some Patrick Surtain. But I mean, I want Kyle Pitts if he is on the board for the Dallas Cowboys. So if the Cowboys draft Kyle Pitts, remember last year when they drafted CeeDee Lamb, all we talked about was they're going to play out of 11 personnel. They can never abandon 11 personnel. If you don't know what 11 personnel is, it's when you have 1 running back and 1 tight end on the field in that particular offensive package. That means you have 3 wide receivers on the field. Why the Cowboys should have always stayed in 11 personnel is that they have Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. There's your 3 wide receivers. Now, if you're playing out of 12 personnel, which is 1 running back and 2 tight ends. Suddenly, now you're the Dallas Cowboys. You have 2 tight ends that you can rely on, whether it's Kyle Pitts and Blake Jarwin, Kyle Pitts and Dalton Schultz, even a Kyle Pitts-less offense for a moment. Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz on their own. So 12 personnel is the Cowboys' friend so far here in 2021. We'll see how things go. But if Kyle Pitts is there, again, it changes the whole kind of time frame that the Cowboys are working with offensively. CeeDee Lamb is now on his rookie contract. You would have Kyle Pitts then beginning his rookie contract. It's worth mentioning Amari Cooper's deal here, by the way. Amari Cooper's extension that he signed with the Dallas Cowboys last year effectively is kind of a 2-year deal, unless the Cowboys restructure his deal, and they haven't yet at the time of our conversation right here today. Without restructuring Amari Cooper in 2022, so next offseason, the Cowboys can get out of Amari Cooper's deal by only absorbing $6 million in dead money if they do move on. They could obviously trade him, outside of just cutting him outright. But, I mean, the point is it will not cost the Cowboys to move on from Amari Cooper. So, for what it's worth, the Cowboys could just hold on to Michael Gallup and decide to pay him next year and move on from Amari Cooper. But Amari Cooper's still playing at an incredible level. He's not that much older than Michael Gallup, so it makes sense now that you kind of look at the way things that they are, that you could go down the path of Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb as your top 2 wide receivers and get something now from Michael Gallup, especially if you land Kyle Pitts. I want to be clear here in saying that it is a fair thing to suggest trading Michael Gallup, even if the Dallas Cowboys do not land Kyle Pitts, but if the Cowboys do land Kyle Pitts, it would almost be irresponsible of them not to trade Michael Gallup. And that leads us to our next point, because say the Cowboys do draft Kyle Pitts, their offensive personnel is a little bit more versatile. They can run in more 12 personnel, etc. And so you can use Michael Gallup, who is your biggest trade asset right now, to get help on the defensive side of the ball. We know the Cowboys need a lot of help. We know the Cowboys don't have much to work with on defense. We know that they're signing, yes, free agents, but I mean, they're not signing a lot of them. I mean, it's kind of like what the Cowboys have done on defense so far is like, you ever look on Spotify for like a playlist, right? It's like, I'm in the mood for like 90s jams, right? And you're like, oh, this one's called like 90s hits or whatever. And you play it and it's got like a couple songs that and they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, this was awesome way back then. But then it's all these other songs that you're like, what? I don't even remember this song. That's kind of what the Cowboys have done, in free agency on the defensive side of the ball. Some things are interesting. Keanu Neal, who by the way will wear number 42. I'm a fan of that. But Carlos Watkins, I don't know. I mean, I digress. But either way, the Cowboys ultimately could move Michael Gallup for help defensively. Now, that help could come in a number of different ways. What could it potentially look like? Well, number one, the Cowboys could trade Michael Gallup straight up for Stephon Gilmore. That's right, Stephon Gilmore. We've talked about this several times. I wrote about it at bloggingtheboys.com. Stephon Gilmore, like Michael Gallup, is entering the final year of his current contract. So this is important because if you're Stephen Jones, we know that you, again, I'm talking to you, you're Stephen Jones. We know you love your compensatory picks. I know you don't want to part with Michael Gallup because you view him as a potential 2023 third-round pick. That's fine. That makes sense. But if you really feel that way, just trade him for somebody else that is in that exact same boat. That's the deal here. That's what Stephon Gilmore is. Stephon Gilmore's contract, by the way, he's only counting $7 million against the salary cap in 2021. That is a bargain for a player that literally won Defensive Player of the Year not even 2 years ago. And so if you can get a guy who is that, freshly removed from an incredible season as a cornerback in the NFL, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you trade in something that you have a very, 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 very heavy strength at to get help where you are incredibly weak? And think about if I know we've talked about Kyle Pitts, but whether the Cowboys draft Kyle Pitts or Patrick Surtain, I mean, adding Stephon Gilmore to that fold really goes a long way in the overall grand scheme of how the Cowboys are looking at the cornerback position. And so that should be said. And if the Cowboys want to trade Michael Gallup straight up for Stephon Gilmore, I'm totally fine with that. It's a 1-for-1. They're both on 1-year deals. Gilmore's older. We've obviously seen the New England Patriots spend a lot in free agency, especially on offense. They went out and got Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. You add Michael Gallup to that mix and Cam Newton, holy crap, watch out, it's going to be awesome. But, and by the way, the Cowboys will visit the Patriots in 2021, so that would be a particularly spicy detail. But either way, say you don't believe that is the path. Say you don't want to trade him for Stephon Gilmore. For whatever reason, I disagree with you, but you're entitled to your opinion. Here's another option. Trade Michael Gallup for some draft capital. Now, I mentioned he's likely going to fetch a third-round compensatory pick in 2023. All right, so we're talking about 2 years from now. If you could get a draft pick now, that would be awesome, especially because now you are living in a world where your quarterback makes a lot of money, where you're paying him a lot of money, where he counts for a lot of money against your salary cap. So you need a lot of cheap labor right now if you're the Dallas Cowboys. How do you get cheap labor? Rookie contracts. So trade Michael Gallup for some rookie contracts this year. I don't know, maybe something like a second-round pick. I think the Baltimore Ravens, I mentioned Sammy Watkins a little while ago. Let's get serious here, Ravens. You want Lamar Jackson to get back to the place where we all want him to be at? Get him a number one wide receiver. Quit going after Sammy Watkins. Ironically, the Dallas Cowboys themselves went after Sammy Watkins in the same offseason that they wound up drafting Michael Gallup 3 years ago. So that would be kind of a nice full circle thing. And plus, I mean, as just NFL fans, imagine Michael Gallup in the Baltimore Ravens offense. That'd be awesome. We're all rooting for Michael Gallup, whether he's with the Cowboys or somebody else. And so it would be really cool to watch Michael Gallup play with Lamar Jackson in the AFC North. I think that would be great. It would be a lot of fun. It would certainly be something we could root for to a different level. They've got some incredible uniforms. I mean, there's a lot going on in Baltimore. It's the, Charm City? Shout out to Tracy Turnblad. Woke up today feeling the way I always do. If you haven't seen Hairspray, you're missing out. Trust me. But the point is, the Baltimore Ravens' second-round pick, because we have to be practical with this. If Michael Gallup is going to fetch a third-round compensatory pick in 2023, you're not going to get a team to give up much more than a third-round pick. The Baltimore Ravens' second-round pick this year in 2021 is 58 overall. It's near the back of the second round. And so let's play out a hypothetical here. Let's say you're the Dallas Cowboys and you do trade Michael Gallup for a second-round pick from the Baltimore Ravens, number 58 overall. Let's play out the mocks that we've talked about here, right? We've talked several times about the players that could be on the board for the Dallas Cowboys, and we've talked about how there could be one of the two tackles, Rashawn Slater or Penei Sewell. Take your pick, whichever one. We're just talking about a hypothetical here. Say the Cowboys draft that player. Say they pass on Patrick Surtain. But say they've already traded Michael Gallup to the Baltimore Ravens for pick number 58 overall. So after the Cowboys draft their tackle, or maybe even draft Kyle Pitts with the 10th overall pick, then you're looking at a scenario where maybe J.C. Horn is falling in the draft, right? Maybe J.C. Horn is falling all the way in the middle of the teens, maybe down near 20 where the Bears are at, something like that. And you're the Dallas Cowboys. You have pick number 44, your own second-round pick, and now you have pick number 58 because you traded Michael Gallup for it, all right? So maybe you take number 44 and number 58, and you get back into the first round, and you draft your J.C. Horn, or maybe it's Micah Parsons, or whatever the case may be. But the point is, you can get your offensive and defensive help both on rookie contracts. In this hypothetical, we're talking about maybe a tackle, an important player, a franchise player, a left tackle, potential future left tackle on a rookie contract for 5 years, and a potential starting cornerback if you do go that route in J.C. Horn, because Patrick Surtain would not fall that far. So this is the type of thing that opening this door allows to. It's kind of like, when you would play Super Mario and you would beat Bowser at like one of the boss levels or whatever, and then it would go to the menu and Mario would like, walk over, and then it would like, and the whole like map would open. That's what this does. If you trade Michael Gallup for draft capital there, it opens the door for a level of possibilities, an unlimited level. I don't know why I said level. It opens the door for a number of possibilities that are very different and very wide-ranging. Think about this. The Cowboys, we talked about this already. They already got a third-round compensatory pick, a top 100 pick, by the way, this offseason. They got a fourth-round compensatory pick. The Dallas Cowboys have 4 picks inside of the top 100. They have 6 picks in the first 4 rounds. If you trade Michael Gallup for a second-round pick, namely 58 overall, to use the example that we've been using here, you now have, 5 picks in the top 100? You have 5% of the top 100 picks. You would then have 7 picks in the first 4 rounds. And let's be clear here. The Dallas Cowboys have 10 picks as it stands right now entering the 2021 draft. I can promise you they're not going to pick 10 players because that capital allows flexibility. And that's what you want. If you trade Michael Gallup for a second-round pick, sure, use the second-round pick if you want. Fine. I won't have a huge problem with that, but it allows you the flexibility to get up. And here's the other thing. Here's an important detail if we go back to the hypothetical of trading up 44 or 58 overall to get back into the first round. Say the Cowboys walk away from the first round with Penei Sewell and J.C. Horn. I know you want Kyle Pitts. Let's be a little bit conservative here. Now they have their left tackle of the future and their starting cornerback opposite of Trayvon Diggs, both on rookie contracts that are starting in 2021, and both of whom would be first-round picks, which would mean that they would both have fifth-year options. Rookie contracts are important to know about in the NFL because only first-round picks have a fifth-year option, so you can keep money cheaper for that extra fifth year. Right now, we know the Dallas Cowboys are not up against it, but things are a little bit different than they used to be now that Dak Prescott's making a lot of cheese. And so if you can get two awesome, legitimate rookie contracts that have fifth-year options at positions of importance, and more importantly, positions that gain huge contracts when they reach the second contract, like left tackle, like cornerback, dude, that's an awesome way to go about this. And I love Michael Gallup. I know you love Michael Gallup, but the reality here is this is a, what is it called? The an hourglass? Is that what it's called when the sand trickles down? This is an hourglass, baby, and the sand is trickling down. I would love to watch Michael Gallup ball out for the Dallas Cowboys in 2021, catch a bunch of touchdowns, stunt on the Eagles, dance all over the Giants, go for 300 yards in Washington. I would love to see that as much as you would. However, it is not wise to just sit and kind of just waste time. We're just sitting here twiddling our thumbs and aging if we sit and watch that, because the Dallas Cowboys have more than enough firepower offensively. What the reality should be now, what it should be accepted as, is this is something that is going to happen. Michael Gallup is going to leave. If you are a forward-thinking organization, you will trade him now so that you can benefit from it in the here and now. You don't waste time. And we could go on or about this for a number of reasons, because, say you do get a 2023 compensatory pick. Do you know how different life will be in 2 years? For all we know, the NFC East is not garbage anymore in 2 years. For all we know, the Eagles will get it together. For all we know, that Washington will find a quarterback. That's a little bit more possible. But you get my point. Like, the league, the state of things as we currently know them will be dramatically different in 2020 or 23, not even 21. So don't kick the can down the road. Don't be lazy. Don't procrastinate, Dallas Cowboys. Consider trading Michael Gallup for Stephon Gilmore. That's a bit more of a... We're focused on the here and now. We want to win some games in 2021. To be clear here, these two options, I've got zero problem with either. I love them both. I might love the Baltimore idea just a little bit more. But Stephon Gilmore, if you tell me the Cowboys are trading Michael Gallup for him, hey, that's awesome. And what's more is the Baltimore Ravens thing, it does. In fact, I definitely love the Ravens idea more because it allows you some security for the future, because if you trade back up into the first round that you have two prime, legitimate stud rookie contracts for the future while your quarterback's making a lot of money. If you walk away with J.C. Horn, you have a secondary that features him and Trayvon Diggs. If you get one of the tackles, if you get Kyle Pitts, all of these, none of these things have cons associated with them. There's pros and cons. None of these have cons. These are all pros. They're all pros. They're all pros, Dallas Cowboys. So consider, as much as it hurts, the idea of trading Michael Gallup. I love Michael Gallup. I know you love Michael Gallup. I want to see Michael Gallup succeed. I want to see Michael Gallup set records. I want to see Michael Gallup win a Super Bowl. But right now, there's no denying that he is the most tradable asset on the Dallas Cowboys. And if they are not, at the very least, considering moving him for something, they would not be doing their jobs. And we're here telling you about this idea because it is our job. It is literally our job to talk about the Dallas Cowboys with you, the loyal listener, the loyal viewer, the beautiful person on the other end of the screen. We hope you enjoyed our conversation about Michael Gallup. If you have some thoughts, you want to talk about this, you want to, talk about the Mario thing. Maybe you have a 90s playlist I can borrow, because I'm looking for one. That's the whole truth here. That's the reason behind the analogy. I'm looking for a 90s playlist because sometimes they're fire, sometimes they're not. And lately I've been finding some ones that are not. But if you want to chat about anything, I'm RJ Ochoa. You can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa. That's RJOCHOA. You can email me, rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. You can follow me on Locker Room. We've been doing some locker rooms lately where we jump on, talk about the Cowboys, of course. You can listen to the Blog of the Boys podcast. We do have a show that goes out every single day because we know that things are always happening in the world of the Dallas Cowboys. Make sure you subscribe to our network. We are available on all major podcast platforms. Simply search for Blog on the Boys, subscribe, and if you can, leave a rating. Those things really, really, really help. Also, subscribe right here to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. We have a lot of things in store that we're continuing to work on and tinker on because we believe, actually, that you deserve the best. So we're excited about what the offseason is going to continue to bring forward as we sit here and talk about America's team and the season in which they'll win their 6th Lombardi Trophy. So subscribe right here to the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. We have a great film review, by the way, that's up. The fantastic Matt Minich did some work talking about Micah Parsons and Kyle Pitts. I have a feeling that you probably prefer Kyle Pitts because I know you. Oh, yeah, I know you. Like, let me watch this. What'd you have for lunch today? Sandwich. That's what you had. And potato chips and a glass of water. That's what you had. Chilled, not cold, but chilled. That's what you had for lunch. I believe that. So anyway, that about does it. We'll be back next week as the draft continues to get closer. Enjoy whatever you got going on this weekend. The Masters is next week. The spring is ticking through, baby, and we're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft. It's very exciting, and we'll have you covered, of course, at bloggingtheboys.com and right here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. So do me a favor. Have the absolute best day of all time. You know why? Because you deserve it. We'll see you next time.